is just one touch from Luke. It's about the woman that reaches out to touch the garment. So I'm going to read it to us, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do with this passage. So I'm taking it from Luke chapter 8 and verse 40 to verse 50. And it says, "Now when Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him. They were all waiting for him. And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue. He had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. As Jesus went, the people pressed around him, and there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years. And though she had spent all her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment, and immediately his discharge of blood ceased. And Jesus said, 'Who is it that touched me?' When all denied it, Peter said, 'Master, the crowd surround you and are pressing on you.' And Jesus said, 'Someone touched me, for I perceived that the power of she had touched him, and how she had immediately healed. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace.' While he was still speaking, someone from the ruler's house came and said, 'Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher anymore.' But Jesus, on hearing this, answered him, 'Do not fear, only believe, and she is well.'" And so within this passage, we read 3 different groups of people. There are 3 people a day. I've changed my mind on the other person many times. And so I'm going to read it, and I'm going to, there's going to be 3 people, and with each person there's going to be an application. So I'm just going to pray for us as we begin. So God, I just want to pray for this time. I pray that you would help me to communicate well what it is that you want me to speak to these people. And God, I just pray that you would help us to understand more of who you are and more of the miracles that you have and the way that we can live in today's world with the applications from the Bible. So God, I just pray. In the beginning of this, there's a big crowd of people. They've been trying to welcome. They stood there. They knew Jesus was coming. They knew that he had something that they wanted to listen to and hear from him. And also just a little bit of cultural things for the time, just so that you know what the people were feeling at this time. Because obviously there's a big crowd of people. There would be many different genders. And females were not high in society. They were the lowest of the people. They would be seen as the lowest. And with that, we know that in here we have a daughter who's not only a female but a child, so she really would not have had any place really in this place of society at this time. And we have a woman who also is not really welcomed. Come and be in the crowd amongst Jesus. And also at this time we have the Levitical law. I know reading Leviticus is hardcore and it's a bit boring at times, but we know in the book of Leviticus that there were rules of what you should eat and how you should treat your neighbour's cattle and what you should do if you're ill. And within this story we have, but the story doesn't end in Leviticus. We know that the new covenant, we are, we no longer have to live under the restrictions of the time. We know that we don't have to worry if we eat a certain type of meat or if we wear a certain type of clothing. And even during the Bible study that I did, we had Leviticus week, and we had to get into the shoes of the people. What would it meant and felt like if we were unclean? And I accidentally ate pork in Leviticus law, and I did it, and then I was cheese, and then I go for a shower the next night, and I'm clean in this game that we played, but these people were not clean overnight. They couldn't go for a shower and just wash it off. They had their own routine that they had to do, and so we're fortunate that we are clean. So if we're ill or if we have something that we're like, I thought I'm clean. Well, actually, because we're all believers, we are all clean. Because of what Jesus. And so that is the scene of the people. So we have a child and a woman, and we have death and blood, and they're very unclean, and these are the people who are coming. And so the first person I want to look at with this in mind is Jairus. Jairus himself was, and not only was he the ruler, he had to be appointed, which meant that people recognized what he had to offer, and they put him in that place. And here we know he has a 12-year-old daughter who not only is dying, as I've said, but in that time, at the age of 12, is when their daughter would be sent to be married. And so he's desperate in this, because not only that his family needs his daughter to go on, and for him to have a social respect, he needs to be able to marry his daughter off. And here he is, with uncleanness in his house, and not able to know if he would be able to keep his status in society. And I like this photo that I found of just the desperation in his eyes. So, can you help me? I have nothing to help with my daughter. I am able to help all these. I'm connecting with God, and yet here I am, not able to give what my daughter needs. And here he is in complete respect, humility, and desperation. And I was having fun researching what it meant to kneel in other cultures. And so for example, in Japan, you kneel as a place of apology or blessing. So if you've done something wrong, you kneel before the one that you have wronged. And in India, you normally fall before the feet of your elders, the ones that you respect. And within Greek culture, it would be seen as a last resort. You would fall down, you would kneel down to what it is that you believed. So here, because we know it's a Hebrew culture, he believed that Jesus is the only way to heal his daughter. So he heard that Jesus was coming, as everyone else did, and he ran and fall before Jesus and said, "Help me, I need you to come, my daughter needs you." And this challenged me in what does it mean for me to let go of my pride, the things that I'm like, I can fix this problem in my own strength, or I can help this person, but actually in this, what does it look like to humble yourself and fall at the feet of the one you need the most? So this is Jairus in deep desperation. And then we have a woman. We don't know a lot about the woman, we just know she's a woman. In my mind, I've always pictured her to be older, but actually looking at this picture, I'm thinking of her as like 30s, 40s. I was thinking of this, and in the state that she was in, she knew she needed Jesus. And then I was challenged of, have I ever wanted something so badly? I would do all I could to get it. We have the next Boxing Day sale. There's something at next that you really want, and you have to phone the doctor at 8 a.m. in the morning to make sure that you get an appointment. And in that moment, you have a right to the doctor, and you know that you are in need of seeing a doctor that day. And with this lady, she is very unclean, and even if she touches someone, anyone becomes unclean. But here she is touching the ultimate clean person, and yet not only does he not become unclean, he remains clean, and she becomes clean, and she becomes very healed. And I was talking with Pete about, I went and was reading it, and it's exactly that. It's actually, she knew she needed something, and she knew that society was not going to accept her. It's like the persistent widow, she's going to the judge, and keeps going to the judge, and the judge is like, can you just not? And in the end, the judge is so fed up that it's like, fine, I'll give it what you want. And the same with the person that comes at midnight. They're knocking on the door for bread, and they keep knocking. And in the end, they get given the bread. So here, it's like, she did the right thing, and so here she brings everything. There's a lot that she brings by touching people, even risk to herself, but yet here she is coming before Jesus because she knew that he had what she needed. And I know for some of us we have health issues, or we have things within ourselves that we're just like, like a sin that we just keep coming up. We all have a reason that we need to come, and we just need to grab hold of what is rightfully ours and receive healing and receive forgiveness in that place. So when we're given the opportunity to grab Jesus, to have him tell us who we are, because within the passage he says, daughter, your faith has made you well. It's not some woman, your faith has made you well, it's daughter. So it reminds us that actually when we touch him, we know that we are his children and we are beloved and he wants the very best for us. And so what do we need to do? Who do we need to push past? Who do we need to forget the comments, like Marie was saying, the comments that we hear so often? What do we need to let go of and be like, actually, Jesus is rightfully mine, and I believe he will help me whatever situation you find yourself in. And finally, we have Jesus' disciples. I have a big heart for them. I think they are great, even though they come out with the most random stuff sometimes. And it's like, I need you to heal my child. And then Jesus is like, someone in the crowd has just touched me. And they're like, well, have you seen how big the crowd is? Everyone is touching you. And he's like, no, someone touched me. And so in this, Jesus is teaching them a lesson that I think is applicable to us today, of actually what does it mean to see the individual. We can be so focused on our schedule, where we're heading, that we forget the ones that are part of the journey. And as we know with the rest of the story, the girl does get healed and she does raise from the dead. But they don't know that, and so in their mind, they're like, come on, like, the girl needs you, but Jesus is like, so does the woman, and so does anyone else in the crowd. And this reminds me of a time in Paris last year when I was leading a team out there, and we had a big schedule. And one of my trainees came and was like, can we just change the schedule for tomorrow? And I'm like, but we have a big event at the Eiffel Tower yesterday. Do you want to meet me tomorrow? And I'm like, this is hard. And I was like, you know what, you can do that. So she went and she brought this woman to the Lord. And in that moment, it's like, yes, there was this big event, but we didn't know who was going to come to the Lord. But this woman had reached out to my trainee and was like, can I meet you again? So she did, and they continued to meet throughout the time. We made sure that we put it back in the schedule for this time with other people. And even the other day on Monday, I went swimming with Mum, and I was very tired after swimming. I just wanted to get around town, and then the lady crossing the road and she had back. But I also knew that I wanted to get home. So I overtook the lady, and Mum didn't. So then I looked around, and I'm like, come on, Mum, just, you talk to everyone in town already, can we just miss past this one? And then Mum goes, do you have a bad bag? And I'm like, yes, she had a bad bag. And then, so it's like, okay, and then Mum's just talking with her. And Mum, I can't remember exactly what Mum said, but there was a word of encouragement within it. And the lady's face just lit up. And I'm just walking, so I'm like, oh no, I just missed an opportunity. And even in that, it's like, actually, what does it mean for us to put extra time in our schedule, to take a little more time to walk to the bus, or when you're eating your lunch, maybe to go to the local park? What does it mean for you to put aside your schedule and be intentional to seek the one in the crowd that needs you the most that day because of what you do? And so this is what I actually, will you humbly come before Jesus, knowing that he is the only one? Will you kneel at the feet of him and be like, I need you, in the deep desperation in your eye? Or will you grab hold of him? Will you move past everyone else and just say, Jesus, today I need you? Because Jesus will be there for everybody. So you can put someone else rightfully yours, and so is the person next to you. And so we need to just be aware, actually, in this moment of, I could really do with Jesus helping with me with this today, instead of just thinking about it. actually grab hold of him. Read your Bible, get a friend to pray with you, whatever it is that you need, just allow him to meet you in that moment, and with the ultimate cleanness that he brings. We had communion this morning. What is it that you need to carry that you're like, I need freedom from this? Maybe you need to fall at his feet and say, Father, forgive me. And maybe you need to have eyes to see the individual that needs you that day. So you just need to ask the Lord, God, I just need your eyes. Help me to see people the way that you see them, and knowing that you're going to be fine, that you're going to still get to your appointment, that you're still going to get to where you need to be, but just to be aware that there might be someone else that will need you. So I just have some final thoughts on this. So it's, what do you need from Jesus today? Does he need to heal something? Does he need to... Who do you identify with the most? Out of all the people, who is that you identify with, and you're like, actually, there's something in me that I just need to respond? Or, what do you need to let go of? Jairus had to let go of his pride and his social status in order to come, to know that he's not a perfect person, and to just fall. We're going to have a time of response, and I would really love it if so Penny's going to come. So obviously the title was Just One Touch from the King, and the King only fitting to get up Godfrey Bell, or to just to do the chant. So Penny's going to play it, and with that I would just love for us, Lord, what is it that you need? This time, and I just respond with a partner or without, depending on what it is that you feel you need in this moment. So God, I want to thank you for today. I want to thank you that we were able to do communion together as a family. I want to thank you that we were just able to be with one another, that we're all welcomed into this place, and all are welcome to come and fall at your feet. So God, I just pray that as we end today in a time of worship, Lord, I pray that you would help us to be alert of what you're trying to say, to be able to be obedient. Lord, I pray that if any of us need healing, Lord, I pray that you would heal us. And if any of us needs forgiveness, Lord, I pray that they would walk in freedom today. And if there's anyone that just needs your eyes to see the people, Lord, I pray that they would open their eyes to see.